Borrowed language and cognitive alignment represent a visible marker of deeper psychological control processes in parental alienation. While emotional conditioning and narrative control operate largely below awareness, borrowed language is often the point at which those processes become externally observable. It is frequently mistaken for insight, maturity, or independent reasoning, when in fact it reflects alignment with an adult cognitive framework under relational constraint. Children's cognitive development is characterized by gradual movement from concrete, experience-based reasoning toward abstract and moral reasoning. This progression is scaffolded through lived experience, emotional feedback, and guided reflection. In contexts of parental alienation, this developmental trajectory is disrupted. Abstract reasoning appears prematurely, not because the child has independently synthesized experience, but because adult interpretations have been imported wholesale into the child's cognitive system. Borrowed language refers to the use of phrases, concepts, and moral judgments that originate from adult discourse rather than from the child's direct experience. These statements often sound sophisticated, categorical, and emotionally detached. They may reference intentions, patterns, or character traits rather than specific behaviors. The child speaks in generalities rather than narratives. The language carries certainty without nuance. From a cognitive developmental perspective, this is anomalous. Children typically reason from concrete examples. When asked to explain distress, they describe events, sensations, or immediate experiences. In alienation contexts, children may instead produce abstract accusations without temporal grounding or experiential detail. This shift indicates cognitive alignment rather than autonomous reasoning. Cognitive alignment occurs when a child's thinking organizes itself around the interpretive framework of a dominant caregiver. This alignment is not achieved through persuasion alone. It is reinforced through emotional contingencies. When certain interpretations reduce tension and restore relational equilibrium, those interpretations are retained. When alternative interpretations increase discomfort or threaten connection, they are discarded. Over time, the child's cognitive map narrows. Explanations that align with the controlling environment become default. Explanations that challenge it feel unsafe. The child does not consciously choose alignment. The cognitive system adapts to preserve emotional safety. Borrowed language often includes moral certainty. The child may speak in terms of right and wrong, safety and danger, or good and bad, without acknowledging ambiguity or mixed experience. Moral certainty serves a regulatory function. It eliminates ambivalence, which conditioned systems experience as destabilizing. From a developmental standpoint, intolerance of ambivalence signals constraint rather than maturity. Another indicator is the absence of emotional congruence. The child may describe severe accusations with little corresponding affect or express strong moral judgments without observable distress. This emotional flattening reflects dissociation between cognition and affect, a common outcome of psychological control. The child's language carries weight, but the emotional system remains guarded. Borrowed language also frequently mirrors the cadence, vocabulary, and rhetorical style of the aligning caregiver. Phrases may be repeated verbatim across contexts. Explanations may echo legal, therapeutic, or adult relational language. This mirroring reflects internalization of an external narrative rather than the development of an internal one. Importantly, cognitive alignment does not require the child to believe every element of the narrative in a reflective sense. It requires the child to use that narrative as a tool for regulation. The language stabilizes the environment. It signals loyalty. It reduces threat. Truth becomes secondary to safety. This is why attempts to challenge borrowed language through logic or contradiction often fail. The child is not defending a belief. The child is defending a regulatory strategy. Introducing alternative interpretations reintroduces uncertainty and relational risk. Resistance to correction should be understood as protective rather than oppositional. Borrowed language also influences perception of ongoing experience. Ambiguous interactions are filtered through the aligned cognitive frame. Neutral behaviors are interpreted negatively. Positive behaviors are discounted. This perceptual bias further reinforces alignment and makes independent reassessment increasingly difficult. From an assessment standpoint, the presence of adult origin language should prompt inquiry into the conditions under which the child's reasoning developed. The critical question is not whether the language is articulate, but whether it is experientially grounded. Independent reasoning is typically messy, emotionally textured, and specific. Aligned reasoning is often polished, abstract, and categorical. Cognitive alignment also explains why children may appear resistant to repair. Accepting positive experiences with a targeted parent threatens cognitive coherence. It introduces contradiction into a system that has resolved conflict through simplification. Maintaining alignment becomes a way of maintaining psychological stability. Over time, borrowed language becomes integrated into identity. The child experiences the aligned narrative as self-authored. This is the most entrenched stage of cognitive alignment because external reinforcement is no longer required. The child now reproduces the framework independently. In the context of parental alienation, borrowed language and cognitive alignment do not indicate manipulation by the child. They indicate adaptation within a constrained relational system. The child is not reasoning freely. The child is reasoning safely. Understanding this mechanism is essential for accurate interpretation of children's statements. Apparent sophistication, certainty, or moral clarity should not be taken as evidence of autonomy without examining the relational conditions that shape them. Borrowed language is not proof of insight. It is evidence of alignment. And cognitive alignment is not a developmental achievement. It is a survival strategy within a psychologically controlled environment.